All right, Charles, how you doing? This is your 468, your son's 468. Serial number is 003048. I've assembled everything here. As you can see, your Noveski handguard, your barrel, also your red dot scope. One thing to keep in mind about the handguard is that these set screws are very, very fragile. Okay, so if you need to make sure you use the right Allen key. If not, and you strip them, they're going to be very difficult to get out. So just be careful there. They don't need to be overly tightened. The barrel insert that this screws on to the marker itself is the most important thing. That needs to be screwed down tightly or it will not stay. With a longer barrel, keep in mind too that you may be able to move it, but that's completely normal. If you have any issues with that, just let me know. One thing I was talking to you about over the phone is the lock bolt here. Okay, that is your lock bolt. If that tongue does not get depressed, this bolt in the back will not fire. So as you can see here, I do have a tank in. This is your tank that you sent in. Has a little bit of air in, about almost 3,000 PSI. It's already charged back. You want to make sure that before you air up the marker, that this is charged back and ready to go. So if there is not a paintball in this breech and that does not go into the marker, what's going to happen is this noise right here. It's just going to click. And you notice that the bolt did not enter the breech here to fire a projectile or dry fire. The only way to dry fire the 468 is to take a tube or something or a pen and then press it up so you can see the pen, and this part right here, there's a little tooth. And what you'll do, you can take take a nail or small Allen key, and you can press it and depress that up so it keeps the lock bolt up and into the breech. Now what's going to happen is you're going to be able to dry fire it. That's the only way to dry fire a 468. Now you don't need to be dry firing this 468 unless it's not cycling correctly or you notice any defects with that or anything. But other than that, you should not need to dry fire this marker. Another thing, when the marker is aired up and ready to go, like I said, here you have an anti-ball drop. What's going to happen, especially with your magazine here, the D-Mag 14 rounder, when you put this magazine in and it doesn't have any paintballs into it, obviously, like I said, it's not going to lock out that lock bolt. So what you need to do is make sure that if you're having feeding issues or anything like that, which you shouldn't, but if you do, you need to make sure that you or your son, sees if a projectile is properly being fed into the breech. Keep in mind with the D-Mags, you have to flip them. I recommend getting yourself a Helix mag. These are our newest mags. These are 20 round continuous fed. And what these offer is for this not to be needing to be flipped anymore. So a lot of people have moved to the Helix mag just for the more realism, as well as the 20 round continuous, and they have different colors in these as well. So other than that, maintenance on a 468. One of the common places that you want to pay attention to, that I like to, let's say if you're not playing for a couple weeks, the marker is going to sit. I will always degas the marker. So you always want to unscrew the tank enough to where there's no more air in there. It's depressurized. So what you'll do is you'll take this stock off, and you'll take off this pin here, the guide rod, and I'll just back it off until you hear that stop. I can leave it like that. It's not pressurized or anything like that. You don't need to leave it on the marker. What's going to happen is if you leave it on the marker, you'll notice in a couple days your tank's empty. That's because it's putting about 800 pounds of pressure on the valve here, and the air will just dissipate out. So don't leave it aired up. Maintenance, as far as oiling the marker, I would put a couple drops of oil and you'll notice a black hole right here. You can't really see because of the camera, but there is a black hole right here. I would just put a couple drops of marker oil into, like 3 or 4, and that's it. Make sure it's charged back. As far as maintenance on here, make sure that your bore and your barrel are cleaned all the way down to the inside. I've already oiled up a little bit and cleaned your bolt. Another key area that you'll notice with the 468 is what you call your striker, which is your hammer. What I like to do is I will actually take it off. So I'll take this pin off, just press it, pull it out. You press down this velocity housing and turn it counterclockwise until it comes out. You have your velocity spring. Sometimes you just gotta get a little pin in there and get it out. This is your hammer. This O-ring here is vital. You wanna make sure that that O-ring is always oiled up, at least 2 or 3 drops of marker oil. You can just put it on the tips of your fingers and then just rub it around that outside. You make sure that the flat grease bottom part goes in first, and you'll put that, see how the flat side is down? There's a hole right here, which is where this white bolt, there's a hole right there. This is where this bolt catches it, and they fire the marker. So as the valve opens up, this is going back and forth, and this part is engaging the paintball or projectile. Okay, so you'll put this in here. You should be able to push it in. Now it'll get right here, and you won't be able to push it in anymore. What you do is you take it off safe, and you just keep pressing the trigger until it passes that. Okay, and you go ahead and you'll put your velocity spring in there, your rubber buffer. And this is your velocity adjustment. I'll make sure when it leaves here, and you'll be able to tell in the next video, that this is your velocity adjuster. I'll make sure it leaves here around 280 FPS. Okay, that's usually field legal. Now, unscrewing it all the way out, you're gonna get 2 pieces. It's completely normal, it's not broken. What you wanna do, the farther you have it out, the faster it fires. Okay, the more I screw it in, the slower it'll be. So I like to have it at least a little bit in there, about 4 or 5 threads down. And what you'll do is you'll just set this back on here, push it down with your thumb and turn it clockwise to lock it back in. This part is very important. Make sure you put it in back on that spot. Doesn't matter what side, just make sure that it's in there. Then you're good to go. The bolt skinny end goes on the top. So this side goes in. Close it down. If this does not close or there's a gap still, just pull that back. Should lock it down and you're good to go. Okay? That's pretty much all you need to worry about on a 468. Other than that, if you have any questions or concerns, you can always give me a call at 1-800-727-7347, and my extension is 418. Thank you very much.